Okay, here's what's going on. I am going to try to recreate a fly that I fished on Metolius back in the early and all through the 60s. And you know what? I will bet you it would be just dynamite to this day. I've never seen anybody with a fly at all like this. When I was introduced to this fly, it was called a Red Coachman Special Parachute. And I'm tying this on a size 8, 3 extra long hook. And I'm gonna, when I tied this back in the 60s, I was able to get calf tail, high quality calf tail that was long enough that I could tie the tail and the post in one single piece, but I can no longer do that. Okay. Come on, baby, come on. Come on. I got joined by a cat here. We used to be able to get, anybody could get, if they looked for it, to get high quality calf tail that was really long and rather straight, and you could tie this fly with one piece of calf tail all the way through from the tail to the post. But I don't think you can find it anymore. You might be able to. Hi, sweetie. So the idea, now Garen Wood ties flies like this professionally. He uses elk hair. One thing is, Garen told me that elk hair is preferable, and boy, he's right. Because of consistency of availability, I like the good old, yes, I love you. Yes, you're a sweetheart, okay? You're a sweetheart, okay? Okay, no, claws down. Paws down. I'm sure the elk hair is just fine. You see what I put up with? Oh, I know, you're just wonderful. You're just wonderful. Okay. Come on. I'm nostalgic, and I used to fish these flies when I was a kid with calf tail, and I just like the calf tail. Is calf tail superior to the elk? Absolutely not. But I will continue to do this as long as I can. So the whole idea here, and by the way, the thread I'm using now is it's a Vivus thread. I used to use Nymo. The color we use, and I saw this fly on the river, and Jim Beggs was fishing this fly, and his flies were tied by Audrey Joy, and she used shoe red Nymo to tie these. And so this is just a red Vivus. The shoe red was more of a maroon color. And we would, as I learned from her, we'd tie these up. We'd make this post nice and firm, and we'd cement it, and then let it. Now I've got to make a decision here. I haven't tied these flies for years. I want some gold tinsel, but I don't want it to be, I want it to be noticeable, but not totally overpowering. And there's a reason for that, isn't there? So here we go. I apologize for the slowness of this, but this is our body material. It's a red dyed peacock herl. And so let me tell you a little bit about the bugs. I had no idea that we were actually imitating an insect with this fly. I thought this was an attractor pattern. So rather than twisting this, I got my hands full here, folks. Rather than twisting this up, first I'm just gonna make a turn, wind some thread over. I want this to stay fairly full, so I'm gonna add some more peacock. Yeah, okay, you're a pest. You're a pest. Anyway, I thought that these flies, they're so big, they're so audacious. But I tell you, they really work. Now, I've never fished this fly, never had success with this fly in the upper Metolius. See, from the gorge upstream, we always fish this fly down in the canyon above Wizzard Falls. And my hunch is that the bug that this actually imitates isn't found in the upper river. So anyway, how did I come to discover or to think that this was actually an imitative fly rather than a tractor pattern? Well, I caught a fish, caught a trout, and then, you know, in 63, 64, when we caught a trout, it went home with us. And the bigger the trout, the better. Of course, nowadays we'd never kill a big fish. Wouldn't even kill a little fish. No point. But that's what we did in those days. So I was actually camping on the Metolius. So here I've got this is a Magnum. It's hard to find grizzly saddles this large anymore. And these saddles here are from some strings that I purchased back in the mid-70s. But they're kind of thin, so I'm gonna grab several of them. They're wide. Come on, baby. Come on. Give me a break. And so I caught this big, and when I say big trout, it was a 14-incher. It was a real nice big Metolius rainbow. Have no clue at this point whether it was hatchery fish or wild fish. And so we got a shiny side and we got a dull side. Audrey Joy always tied them shiny side up, dull side down. So that's what I'm going to do. You could also tie, why tie them shiny side up? That's just tradition. So Garen actually has a different routine for winding his hackles. This is my routine. I go up, I come back down. So I caught this big trout, and there we go. I get to tell the story for a longer period. Caught this big trout, cleaned it, and it was gonna go in the frying pan. I was cooking on a little propane camp stove with a, like, what they call them? It's what the military used, a mess kit. Just that little thing. So I was planning on having that trout for dinner. And I cleaned it. And in its belly was absolutely stuffed to the brim with giant mayflies. Really big mayflies, like this big. size 8s. And those mayflies, I'm pretty sure these were spinners. I think their wings were clear. Boy, that's reaching back in the back of my mind. But the point is, their bodies were a bright maroon red with little yellow bands to mark the segments. So this fly, tied with red dyed peacock. I'm trying to think and tie here. I haven't tied one of these in at least 20 years. Red dyed peacock with gold rib actually was exactly imitative of what the fish were eating. So there you have the story of the Red Coachman special on Metolius. Now, when was this fly was most effective? In, I would say, June. It was maybe a little bit after the peak of the green drake hatch, but I'm not really clear on that. You know, frankly, back in the green drakes are so sketchy there. But I'll tell you about a green drake next time. So there is our Red Coachman special parachute. Might want to do a little bit of trimming here. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to grab my cat and I'm going to go and try to zoom in on this so you can see it a little bit more clearly. Okay, here we go. This hopefully is the bottom view. You got your peacock, you got your gold rib, you got your red head, you got a pretty big hackle, side view, top view. These flies are big enough. They and we used mucilin to float these flies. A red tin of mucilin, carried a wad of paper towel. When a fish would eat this fly, get all gooey, you'd wash it in the water and crush it in that paper towel and just really crush it to absorb the water out of it, and then blow on it and fluff it around a little bit and put a light dressing of mucilin on it again. So there you have it. June, maybe into July, but not very far into July on the Metolius. Thank you for joining me.